Hi, I'm Coach Daniel, and if you want to sleep amazingly well for the rest of your life, this channel is for you. An extremely important episode tonight. We're going to talk about sleep physiology using the gas and break model. You're going to see that you can use this model to explain any insomnia-related phenomenon, and we're going to talk about where I had it wrong in the past. It is not the gas that is most important, it is the break. Hey there and welcome back. As mentioned, a really important episode here, and again thanks to Jura for requesting this. So we are going to talk about how sleep is regulated, but we are going to take a little detour first into the world of eating. It makes a really good analogy. So imagine this. Imagine that you think about what makes you want to eat. Not very complicated. You want to eat because you have an appetite, you're hungry. But then ask yourself this, what do you do to become hungry? Sometimes I do this in clinic, I just ask people, so what do you do to become hungry? And I'm looking for the reaction of, I don't know, just nothing in particular. And that's exactly my point. You don't have to do anything to become hungry. Just by not eating, you become hungry, you build an appetite. The longer you go without eating, the hungrier you become. When it comes to eating, the gas in our system is appetite. The more appetite you have, the more you're going to eat. Now, there is a break in the eating system as well. Imagine that you're really hungry, but someone serves you this rotten, spoiled fish. What happens to your hunger? It goes away. That's a break. The break in our eating system is negative emotions, such as disgust. Pretty easy, right? Gas is appetite, and the break is negative emotion. Guess what? Just the same when it comes to sleep. There's only this one thing that produces sleep, that makes you want to sleep, that makes your body want to sleep, and that's our sleep drive, sleepiness, if you will. And only one thing produces that gas in our sleep system. And what is it? What is it that makes you sleepy? It's wakefulness. Wakefulness is the only thing that can produce sleep drive, your body's need for sleep. Now, there's of course a break here in the sleep system as well, and that break is hyperarousal. That is any type of heightened emotional state, like anxiety, worry, preoccupation, or excitement as well. All that acts as the break in our sleep system. And that is it, folks. That is it. The gas and the break, that is what regulates how we sleep. And one of the main reasons I think this is so important is this, that by reading online, by hearing what people say, and by your own experiences, you can easily get this notion that sleep is really complicated because you've tried a lot of things. Some things seem to work, some things didn't work, and some things worked sometimes but not other times. You hear that the light is very important, what you eat is important, your exercise level is important, coffee is important, all things are important. That can lead you to believe that sleep is complicated because it's not. That notion that it's complicated makes you anxious because you have to control all these things. Knowing that it is simple is in itself a real relief, that gives you a sense of this is not very complicated. It's just the gas and the break. Gas and break, that's all it is. Now, that said, there are these 4 scenarios you can have when it comes to that gas and break. One is you have neither. You don't have much gas and not much break. This means you're not sleepy and you're not worried. This means you're awake and you have a regular day, right? Then you can have this scenario. You're not sleepy, you have no gas, and you have break. And in this scenario, you're going to be very awake. You're going to be hyper awake. You're definitely not going to sleep in this scenario. Or you can have this one. This is the most common one when you have trouble sleeping. You are sleep deprived to some degree. Your body needs sleep. There is a sleep there. There is some gas going on, but you're also hyperaroused. There's breaking as well. So you're in and out of sleep. It's like it takes a long time to fall asleep, but finally you do, but then you wake up again, and then you fall back asleep, and then, you have this in and out, fragmented, superficial, vivid dreams, that kind of thing. That's like the gas fighting the break the whole night. That's classic insomnia. Now, you also can have this scenario, of course. Strong gas, you really need to sleep, and you're not worried at all. No hyperarousal. And guess what? Then you're going to sleep really, really well. This is where you want to get. And that's where I had it wrong in the past. You may have heard me say this, that the gas is important, but it's complicated working on that. So the break is important, but it's complicated. So you better work on the gas. Make sure you get up early, stay awake, pretty late, build up that gas, and it will override the break. And when it does, you start seeing that you can sleep, and the whole thing just becomes much better. The problem with my thinking in the past was that it implies controllability of sleep. It implied that if you just kept yourself awake for long enough, you're gonna sleep, and etc. And the problem with that is that it becomes a sleep effort. You're kind of like fighting yourself. I gotta stay awake a little longer. But when you do that, you're purposely trying to build sleep drive, but just keeping yourself awake for such a long time. Guess what you're doing? You're also building so much break, because you're getting nervous and anxious and stressed about, like, do I have enough sleep, or etc. And that's where I had it wrong. It can work for a lot of people. Getting up early and staying up late, that simple thing can work for a lot of people, but it can also create this problem with, like, as you're working on the gas, you're also working on the break. If you're trying to force sleep, you're becoming more hyper aroused. So my understanding now is that it is really mostly about the gas. Of course, you can have a break. It's mostly about the break. You can have a gas problem as well if you sleep in during the day, and if you take a nap, and if you try to sleep, and if you fall asleep in the evening. Then it's true, you don't have enough gas. Then you have a gas problem. But the break problem is the big one. So how do you work on that break problem? This is another insight. I used to think, again, that spending less time in bed was really to build a break, but spending less time in bed is really about letting go of that chasing sleep behavior, taking that psychological step away from trying to sleep. That's why it's important to spend less time in bed. When you're getting to that point, when you're willing to have some insomnia, you're not afraid of it anymore, you're willing to spend less time in bed, your break goes away. And that is really the most important thing with spending less time in bed. Now, other ways, of course, of working on that break is education. That's hugely important. When you understand sleep, you understand it's simple, it's not complicated, you get it, then the break really fades away. Super important. And now, I want to really make one more point here, and that is this one, that in understanding this gas and break model, you can explain really any scenario you are in. If you're in bed, you're not falling asleep, that is either because there's insufficient gas or there's too much break, And if you're not particularly worried, then maybe it is a gas issue. But if you're worried and preoccupied, you have a break issue, right? Or if you keep waking up throughout the night, that means that you have too much break going on, right? Or if you find that, for example, I get my best sleep at 5 a.m. Why is that? Well, it's because you've been awake from 12 midnight and your gas keeps increasing, and at 5 a.m. you kind of given up on sleep. You're not trying to sleep anymore, and your break goes away. And so any phenomenon, anything that you find happening when it comes to your sleep, like this kind of insomnia stuff, all that can be explained using the gas and break model. In fact, anybody who has a scenario that you're like, how about this one? Please let me know. Leave a comment or send an email to questions@thesleepcoachschool.com, and I will explain how that can be explained using the gas and break model. Now, for those of you who are really into this, you will throw in a circadian rhythm thing. And it's true, circadian rhythms play a role too, and I don't factor that in the gas and break model because they so rarely play a role. Yes, if you're traveling across time zones, you have to think about circadian rhythm too. That is true, but for all real practical purposes, it's all gas and break, gas and break, gas and break. That's all there is to it. So I hope you enjoyed this one. If you have any questions, as I mentioned, send an email or write a comment, and do know this, that all the episodes here, all I talk about here is an effort to make you sleep amazingly well without ever spending a dollar. I really hope that you never, ever, ever will need a sleep coach or anything of that nature. But if you find that you do need a little bit more support, accountability, education than you get from these videos, then please consider checking out the Self-Coaching Master Program at thesleepcoachschool.com. With that said, look forward to hearing from you and having you back here. And until then, take it easy.